The inconsistency of the 2026 Orioles well on display today at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Welcome in to the latest edition of Birdland Territory with Tim Barbalace and Brad Brach. I'm Steve Melewski. The Birds split two with Houston today at the Yard as we tape this about 24 hours before they take the field in Yankee Stadium. We're going to get into that in just a minute. Game one today, the Orioles beat Houston 10-3. It was one of their better games of the year. Game two was not that, as they lost 11-5. We're down 10-0 early. And so, guys, we're going to get into the aspects of both games throughout this show today. We got plenty of time to do that. But how prepped now are the Orioles for this big four-game series in the Bronx? I mean, this is the first. Twice in the next four series, they're going to face the Yankees. The Yankees, on paper right now, look so much the better team. But I think it's an opportunity for the Orioles to go in there and surprise us, elevate their game, show that this second game was they're going to flush it, as they like to say, and move on. What are your thoughts, Brad, on this big weekend looming for the Orioles?
Yeah, it's a big one. It's the first time going on the road facing a division opponent. And anytime you go to Yankee Stadium, the games are they're more exciting. There's a louder atmosphere. It's New York City on a Friday night. So it's going to be a little bit more amped up. And I mean, in the history of Orioles, Yankees, there's been some crazy games at Yankee Stadium. So you can always expect that. But, honestly, going into it, I think I like the at-bats they had today. I know they got beat real bad in the second game, but I like how many pitches they're starting to see. I don't like the swing and miss, obviously, as much as what's going on, but I really just like they're seeing tons of pitches. They're getting, I feel like almost every batter had a 2-2, 3-2 count a lot of times. They're just not getting the swing when they need it. So the offensive side, I think they're getting really, really close. And then today, Bassitt's outing is going to go a long way for this stretch here at Yankee Stadium. Having him get into the seventh inning there, only having to use Rico Garcia for one out, get him ready to go for the weekend. And then you didn't have to use Helsley or Kittredge or the big arms at the back of the bullpen. So the bullpen's ready to go. And I think that outing that Bassitt had today is going to go a long way.
It was huge. It was a must-have outing for Chris Bassitt because we know how much he's really struggled. But also, with this being a doubleheader ahead of this four-game series, especially when you consider the fact that the Yankees are off today. So that's a big advantage that New York has going into this four-game series. And Trevor Rogers was scheduled to start in the opener. He's on the IL due to the flu. But looking at this series as a whole, has this been the start to the season that the Orioles have wanted? Absolutely not. You're a game under 500 heading into May. But looking at this from a glass half full perspective, this is an opportunity to make a statement, guys. The Yankees are red hot going into this four-game series. They've won 10 of 12 games, and they lead the league in home runs. The starting pitching has been really, really good, and obviously you're going to face four of their starters. You missed Schlittler, but you're going to face everyone else. Max Fried will start that game on Monday. It's a tall task going into this series, but it's a big opportunity for the Birds.
It is, and I think some fans might be surprised to know this stat. In the last 3 years, Orioles and Yankees has been even, just about. Baltimore 19 wins, Yankees 20. The Orioles lost the season series to the Bronx Bombers 6 straight years from 2017 through 2022. But those 2 years they were a playoff team, they beat them. 7-6 Orioles in 23 when they won the East. 8-5 they won the season series the next year. Last year, 75 when Orioles went 4-9. So they've been holding their own in recent years. But right now, the Yankees are scoring nearly 5 a game. Their starting rotation ERA is the best in Major League Baseball, 2.74. The Orioles, oh, by the way, are at 4.60. That doesn't even look like a good matchup on paper. So to me, they are the big underdog in this series. 2-2, I think we'd almost take, right? 3-1, we'd be elated. But I think the Orioles guys have to prove that they can elevate their play to look as good as the Yankees or in their league. And now they have 7 chances to do that in their next 13 games.
Yeah, and I think honestly, it's a good measuring stick. I think it's an early test, and it's still the first week of May, so it's not emergency if you went in there, lost 3 out of 4. But it's a good test. It's where they want to be. It's the team that they want to compete against and see where they are up against the Yankees. They're in first place. They want to try to gain some ground on them. But like I said, at the end of the day, I think it's just going in there one game at a time. That's the beauty of baseball. It doesn't matter what happened today. Tomorrow's a whole new thing, like we've talked about a bunch of times on this show. But when you go in there, you try to get the first game of the series, and then you move on to Saturday. So that's the beauty of it all. And I just kind of look at those numbers, and I feel like it's got to come back to the mean. I feel like the Yankees, they're not going to have a 2.7 the entire year, and the Orioles, you would hope their starting pitcher isn't going to have a 4.6. So that's the hope of Orioles fans, that it's got to come back a little bit. Sometimes, pitchers get off to a great start and they kind of settle in the middle of the season, and hopefully the Orioles hitters can get hot and kind of knock that ERA number up a little bit for the Yankees.
And Steve, what's crazy about those numbers, man? Garrett Cole's return is still looming. Carlos Rodon is still sidelined, and they're still off to this great start to the season. Something that we've been talking about a lot over the past couple of weeks is that this has been a very unique start to the schedule for the Orioles. You flip the calendar to May, they've only played that one series against an AL East team, and they lost that series to the Red Sox at Camden Yards, but it really flips in the month of May. You got these two series against the Yankees. You have a total of 17 games over May against the Yankees, 2 series there, 2 series against the Rays, and then you have a 4-game series against the Blue Jays. So 17 combined games against those 2 teams. And the Yankees obviously off to a hot start, 20-11, heading into this series. But oddly enough, despite the Birds playing, 31 games already, they've only played 4 games against teams with a winning record, and they're 1-3 in those games. So this is an opportunity to make a statement.
Will be an interesting weekend in the Bronx. On this show, in a minute, we're going to get into some interesting comments today. What Craig Albernaz had to say briefly after Game 2, and what Chris Bassitt had to say after he pitched so well in Game 1, which was between games interview. And we're going to catch up with those quotes and more in a moment on Birdland territory.
We love our dog Bella, who's really just a couch cushion in our house.
And you would do anything for her. A quick message from today's sponsor, the ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program. If you've ever been frantically searching what to do for an issue with your pup, you are not alone. The program offers customizable accident and illness plans, making it easier to get your pet the care they need. When you enroll in an ASPCA Pet Health Insurance plan, you could get a $25 Amazon gift card. It's a little treat for you while you're doing something great for your pet. To explore coverage, visit aspcapetinsurance.com/foul. That's aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. Eligible restrictions apply. Visit aspcapetinsurance.com/Amazon terms for more info. This is a paid advertisement. Insurance is underwritten by either Independent American Insurance Company or United States Fire Insurance Company and produced by PTZ Insurance Agency Limited. The ASPCA is not an insurer and is not engaged in the business of insurance.
Birdland territory with you after the Orioles split a doubleheader with Houston. So Chris Bassitt, his best start as an Oriole, Game 1, 1 run, 6 2/3, 94 pitches. So pitch efficient early at a season high 12 whiffs. The curveball was really dancing. Looked really good. And then when he talked to reporters, he revealed essentially that the starters had what he termed a come to Jesus meeting, and he also termed their performance as poor. As a media guy, even as a fan, I like that. I like when the team is saying what we all can see, has to do better. And coincidentally, since the come to Jesus meeting, Boz and Bassitt threw their best games, and obviously it got away in the Game 2 today. But those are 2 guys who are going to be counted on all year with others. What did you guys think of those comments?
I think it was awesome. Like you're saying, as a fan, as even guys on the team, guys are very self-aware of if it's going well or not. I think they either don't want to admit it or they don't want to say it out loud and have it kind of be printed. But for him to say that and say they had a meeting and kind of say it's unacceptable how we've been pitching, I think was awesome to see. They're very self-aware that they have not lived up to the expectations that they have for themselves this season. And I think for him to come out and tell everybody that they had a meeting and said that we need to correct some things, sometimes it has to be said. And I think when you sit there and everyone's kind of thinking it, but nobody's saying it, it's a way better thing to have a meeting with all the guys and just say, listen, this is not okay what we're doing. This stuff is too good. we're living out of the strike zone. We need to be more in the strike zone. And you clearly saw those two guys attacking hitters, going at them to get to their all-speed stuff. It's no secret. Almost the entire pitching staff, starting staff, lives off their off-speed. But the only way to get to your off-speed is if you throw fastballs in the zone. So I think that his quote was perfect. There's no other way to describe it.
That's the leadership that we've been talking about a lot this offseason. You bring in Chris Bassitt, you bring in Pete Alonso, some guys that have been through the wars. They've had phenomenal appearances in the postseason. Chris Bassitt, the Blue Jays were this close to winning the World Series over the Dodgers as big-time underdogs there. And Bassitt, you can think back to the moment during spring training where the guys, they were going through defensive drills and kind of lackadaisical, and Bassitt called everybody in and say, hey, we got to do this right. And now you're just seeing that even more. And with Bassitt today, guys, by far and away his best outing. And he had a season high 12 whiffs. And Brad, you're right, where even in the starts prior to this, when we've seen him at his best, those flashes of it, the curveball's been really strong. The sweeper's been really strong. He had 6 swings and miss on his curveball today, 2 on the sweeper. But I wanted to get your thoughts on Shane Baz yesterday, Brad, because something that was a lot different from his prior start in Kansas City, he didn't throw a single sinker, a single two-seamer. Well, he threw 12 of those pitches, 11 of them to right-handed batters. What did you see with that adjustment, and how difficult is that for right-handed batters?
Yeah, I think he must have seen something where righties are staying out over the plate. He doesn't like to come in a lot of times, and the sinker is going to do that for you. You run it in off the hands. Even if you throw it for a ball, a lot of times it's going to keep the hitter from getting out over the plate, and that's where he likes to live. He likes to live out and up in the strike zone. But if you're not showing anything on the inner third of the plate, hitters can just sit out there all the time. When I was pitching, I would always pitch away. Everybody knew at the scouting report, I always pitched away, but you had to come in every once in a while to just show them you can't just sit out over the plate. So I think that's probably what he saw. He saw numbers that he didn't like about guys getting out over the plate. So he started running that two-seamer in, and you have to respect it as a hitter. You throw it one time, okay, but like you said, 11 times to righties, he's trying to prove a point there. He's trying to say you're not going to be able to just get out and hit balls the other way or pull balls that are middle in anymore. I'm going to run this two-seam in at you. So he did that, and it was really effective. And I think when he starts doing that, his breaking ball becomes that much more effective because he can start it a third away and have it break off the plate, and it looks like it's more of a strike than it actually is. And that's where he's going to get a swing and miss.
Hey, going back to Bassitt, I agree with you guys. Great leadership. He's kind of been that from the start. The clubhouse is saying that about him. And then he's pitching poorly early. So, the fans are like, well, okay, show me the leadership. Well, he did. He did today, and he did in revealing what those pitchers said. And again, it's better to get it out so over the years, I've interviewed many a starting pitcher who said, boy, one pitch. Well, you look at the box score, I gave up 6 runs. Okay, maybe he's not wrong, but 6 runs doesn't get it done, whether it was 1 pitch or 10 pitches. So it's better to say we haven't been doing as well. And with a 2-run difference, Yankee rotation to Baltimore, he's right. But then he did it. You say it and you follow it up. That really, I think, is impressive.
Absolutely. It's one thing to say we had this meeting. It's another thing to come out and have 2 great starts like they had to start the series. So I think it's I have a personal experience with this, having a come to Jesus kind of moment where I was kind of 2015. Was out of options, kind of good outing, bad outing, back and forth. And pitching coach Dave Wallace pulled me in the laundry room in Houston. And he just basically, anytime he had a big conversation with you, he'd always take off his glasses. And he sat there and he had a man conversation with me. And it was, to this day, it was the complete turning point in my career. It was kind of challenging me. And it was one of those conversations I can still hear in the back of my head. And it carried me throughout my career. It was kind of just, you're better than what you're showing. Are you going to go out there and prove it? Or are you just going to sit here and sit in mediocrity and get DFA'd and go to a different team and have some success? So these kinds of meetings can have a monumental turn for pitchers overall. And I don't think it happens very often. So I honestly loved hearing that today. And I think for him to back it up and go out there and have the start he had was just showing his leadership and proving to everybody that I think it's kind of, if I can do it, you guys can do it. because I'm 35, 36 years old. I don't throw 98 like you guys do. And I can go out there and I can get swings and misses. It's all about timing for these guys. And today he was throwing fastballs by guys. Alvarez, he struck out with a four-seam fastball at 92 or 91 miles an hour. The guy's one of the hottest hitters in the league. And if he can do it, those guys can do it. And I think today was just an awesome example of leadership and just going out there and getting the job done.
It's such a great point, Brad, because you think about Bassitt at 37 compared to Shane Baz, who could just throw gas, and Kyle Brach just throws filth. And Rogers, of course, is a different type of pitcher. But you're right. Like Bassitt leading by example there, and his words, I think, and I think you believe too, Brad, like they carry so much more weight because he's been through it for so long and he's experienced such high highs and had such great success. And to last as long as he has in MLB, that's just not common.
No, it's not. And for him to still be doing it, I mean, I'm just a firm believer of his career numbers are there for a reason, and he's going to be there at the end of the year. I just have heard it from when I was a rookie. I remember Houston Street coming to me in the outfield and just saying, listen, I know I'm off to a bad start. But he's like, by the end of the year, I'm going to have this number, that number, this number. And he was exactly right. He's like, experience helps me know where I'm going to be. He wasn't nervous. I think he works really hard. He knows all the analytics for everything. He went out. You could tell in the last 8 days where he didn't start, he worked really hard. He threw more two seams today than he had all year. So there was obviously something he was working on, and it worked. And I think it was a big boost. And I think guys are kind of like, man, now it's my turn. I got to go and step up. Obviously the Brandon Young outing was tough today, but the other guys who've been in the rotation all year, it's like, okay, now it's my turn. I can't let Chris show me up today. So it's like I said, I think it can create kind of a friendly competition and kind of raise the level of play of everybody in the starting staff.
Listen, unless Chris Bassitt got old overnight, and clearly he hasn't, he was going to start pitching better, and he did today. This guy pitched in the World Series and shut down the Dodgers in a relief role, which is not his role. So if a couple bad starts in April aren't going to scare this guy, and obviously he's starting to get it on track for the Orioles, which could be so big. But let's talk about a couple of grand slams that were hit today in the same game. We're going to get to that in just a minute here on Birdland territory.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, the MLB season is in full swing, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Joining the action is easy. Just make your free pick on who's hitting a home run in their game, and if you're right, you'll get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. It's just another reason why FanDuel is the home of home runs. So are you ready to play your game? Head over to FanDuel.com/podcast to get started. That's FanDuel.com/podcast to opt in for daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. No purchase necessary. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
So the Orioles are 15-16 as the month of April comes to an end. We get into May, Orioles in the Bronx. But let's talk about two grand slams in one game. The Orioles had that happen today in game one, the 8th time in team history. The last was September 11th, 2015 against Kansas City. It was Steve Clevenger and Nolan Reimold. Today it was Adley Rutschman, his 3rd career grand slam, and Jeremiah Jackson, his 2nd of this season. Jackson has 24 RBIs. That's more than Aaron Judge in the top 5 in the American League. Adley and Jackson put on a show today in game one, and both look like they're poised for big years.
Yeah, Adley looks really good. I mean, he's just, especially from the left side right now, and today the home run was from the right side, but from the left side right now, his swing is so sweet. He's taking balls inside out, hitting it through the 6 hole in the first inning for an RBI. Then he's going to the other side of the plate, hitting homers from the right side. It's just, he looks great. And then we've talked about multiple times where would this team would be without Jeremiah Jackson, but he just seems to step up when there's guys on base. It seems like every time he has an opportunity to knock a guy in, he has a big hit, and he showed it again today with the grand slam. And those runs were huge to extend the lead to where it was. Didn't have to use their top leverage arms there at the end of the game, and it really helps them moving into the series against New York. So runs like that are just great to have, and he continues to have a phenomenal season so far.
It's unbelievable. And he already has more RBIs, Steve, than he did last year during his run with the Orioles, which he played substantially more games than just the 29 that he's been in so far. And Adley, it's been such a great start for Adley Rutschman. I saw a stat earlier today following the first game where he's the first catcher with 10 plus extra base hits, 15 plus RBIs in his first 16 games to open a season since Will Smith in 2019. So that just tells you what type of start Adley Rutschman is off to this year. And he's got to be playing with so much confidence right now, Brad. And it really appears like it, where the last year and a half prior to this, that wasn't Adley Rutschman. It just didn't look like that guy from 2022 through the first half of 2024. And we know that he's dealt with injuries, the hand injury in 24, the obliques last season, where I think he was pressing. And even last year, it looked like he was coming out of it in June. And that's when he sustained the oblique injury, where he's got to be playing with just so much confidence.
Yeah, he looks like the all-star catcher everybody expects him to be, one of the best in the league. And he's playing with huge confidence. You can tell. It doesn't matter the count. And they even said today in the broadcast, he's swinging earlier in the count than he normally has. So that to me shows confidence when you're swinging early in the count, not afraid to go and attack pitches early in the count as opposed to seeing a couple pitches, because it just means you're hot. It means you're seeing the ball well. You know what you're looking for. And when you get it, whether it's the first pitch or it's the fifth pitch of the at-bat, you're ready to jump on it. And that's what he's doing. He looks great. Would love to see him and Sammy Basayo getting the lineup together more often, because both of them right now, I feel like, could carry the offense themselves with the swings they're putting on the ball. But it's great to see Adley back to the catcher everybody sees him being right now. Defensively, he's been phenomenal too. So it's just great seeing him play well and really be the captain of this team.
Before the doubleheader today, with the bases loaded this year as a team, the Orioles were batting .333, seventh best in the majors. OPS with bases loaded, .988, fifth best, before they hit 2 grand slams. So we'll check those stats in the morning and see they might be first for all we know. So those are good numbers. They're doing some clutch things with the bases loaded, and yet they do take a -1 in the one-loss column into New York. Game 2 was ugly, and that's what it was called by their manager. We'll touch on that in a moment on Birdland territory.
Big Bad Morning Show, Vinny and Haney. Inside Access. Live on YouTube weekdays 6 till 6. Search Baltimore 105.7 The Fan. Subscribe for daily shorts right to your phone and never miss what you missed. 105.7 The Fan.
Just like with Chris Bassitt's comments, I think we're all going to like the fact that manager Craig Albernaz said of Game 2, I think he was mostly talking about the defense. He could have been talking about the game overall, the 11-5 loss. Ugly, unacceptable. I like that, guys. He didn't throw anybody under the bus. He didn't call anybody by name. He just said that performance is not acceptable for the Orioles, and the team has to figure out a way to clean that up in a hurry. Play like that in the Bronx, it will continue to be ugly.
Yeah, and I think, once again, I think it's another on-purpose thing. He's not just going to throw that stuff out there unless he wants them. It's either he wants them to see it, wants them to read it, and just know that he told everybody it's unacceptable. It's not acceptable to have a game like they had today. Like he said, he knows the second game of the doubleheader, but it just was not the start they were looking for. And to get behind as bad as they did early on in that game, it just can't continue. And the inconsistency kind of just crept its head up there a little bit. Right when you think they're going to come out and they're going to have this great start, they're 1 out away from getting out of the inning with no runs, and they end up giving up a 5 or 6 spot in the first inning. And it's just, you get behind like that, and it's really hard to come back from. He was right. It's unacceptable to start games like that. And even just watching it, if I wasn't listening to the broadcast, it just looked sloppy. It looked a little sluggish. And that's exactly what happened in that first inning.
5 unearned runs were scored between the 2 games in the doubleheader. 5. That's way too much. And Brad, you mentioned that first inning where Brandon Young, look, it was a really tough start for him. There's no way around it. Giving up 10 hits, and initially the Jeremiah Jackson play that ended up getting behind him wasn't ruled in error. I was like, man, that was a very gracious ruling by the official scorer. But then it was changed, and 3 of Brandon Young's 10 runs given up were unearned, but they just crush you. And when you think of where this team is at, obviously they are far from firing on all cylinders. You can't give free runs. You can't give an extra 90 feet to base runners. You can't make these elementary mistakes because they just come back to bite you in the butt. It's just when things aren't clicking and they start to really snowball like that. That game today, the second one, was very reminiscent of games last year where when you find yourself in a 5-0 hole before you even take an at-bat, man, like, it's just hard. Human nature. I'm not saying these guys were thinking that, but it's hard thinking like, oh, well, I guess it's on to the Bronx. You know, we got a 4-game series. Like, it's hard to dig out of that hole immediately.
Yeah, it is. It's really tough when you get down. It's tough when you get down 2-0, 3-0, because you just know you have to claw so much tougher to get back in these games. And like you said, with the division games coming up, especially on the road, it gets even that much more tough. And having an inning like that today, obviously, you hope it doesn't happen again. But like I said, I think it was just so. I think it was even more disheartening as the game went along because they put together so many good at bats late. And they scratched across a couple runs, but it was all for naught. And it's like, you just wish that instead of the 5 runs, it was 3 runs. And then instead of 10, it was 7, 8 runs, because I just felt like they were one swing away from making that game 11-8 there in the 7th or 8th inning. And when you're just so far behind, it's like, the grand slam puts you down 3 and you still have to get 3 more runs. So it's just like, it just kind of snowballs, like you said, and it just kind of puts this mental block. They're probably not thinking about it a ton, but when you're down 5-0 in the first, and the game is going to have to take a kind of a crazy turn for you to get back in it. And you're trying to put up a couple in that first inning. And as you go into the second, you're still down 5-0. Now it's really on top of your head. Okay, we got to get going here. And it just makes it tough to win major league games that way.
So let's end this show, be full circle where we started. Orioles, Yankees, 2011, New York, first place, 10-2 in their last 12. Hopefully the Orioles don't make me eat these words, but in recent years, when I see the Orioles play the Yankees in the Bronx, I see a team that's not scared to see the pinstripes. I don't see that with every team in the American League. I have seen it with this one. What it will be really big this weekend is if one of the stars, Gunnar, Alonso, Ward, does something big early, maybe they get a lead and maybe they roll through a good weekend. That's the hope in Birdland, I think.
And Steve, you brought up the numbers earlier, and even I know they had a losing record in 2022, but I feel like later on in the year they started to win some games against the Yankees. And I'm with you 100%. For whatever reason, in 23, 24, maybe even the beginning of last year, I think I remember them winning a series early on in April, despite them off to a rough start. They play the Yankees well. They're not intimidated by New York, and you'd like to see that carry over into this season. And look, I'm sure the new guys like Pete, he's going to be fired up to go against the Yankees for the first time as an Oriole. I know Bassitt pitched today, but you think of all of these new players get indoctrinated into this rivalry that was red hot, especially in 2024 with bullpens clearing, benches clearing multiple times that season. Like, if you can't get up for the Yankees, man, come on.
Yeah, and that's what I think it is. I think it's just excitement in the air. It's like I said, it's New York on a Friday night. It's just exciting. It's the stands are going to be packed, and they might be rooting against you, but you just hear noise and you hear excitement, and it's loud. And I always love pitching there whenever I got a chance. I don't know if I had great numbers when I did, but it was still just a great place. It's a great atmosphere. It's what baseball should be, and it's a lot of fun to go there. And like you said, hopefully they can get off to a hot start and just kind of continue it. And I really hope the bullpen shows up this weekend and really kind of sets a statement where get some leads, hold it, and just don't give that offense even a chance to really make any noise and come back. I think that would be a great statement to make early on in the season and kind of just move it forward where you got to get a lead in order to beat this Oriole team. And it's probably the bullpen side of myself coming out, but it's just that those kinds of games are awesome in the Bronx. When you have a lead, you shut them down. There's nothing better than hearing the boos after a win. And hopefully they go in there and kind of just stick it to them a little bit and take 3 out of 4 this weekend at least. And that would be a fun weekend for Baltimore.
Let's see how it goes, Birdland. Advantage Yankees on the record, on the stats. They got Thursday off while the Orioles played a doubleheader. They're sitting at home. The Orioles have to get up there Thursday night. So everything is tilting New York's way. But what will happen when the games start? It's two teams that want to win. And let's see, it's going to be fascinating. And when we talk to you again, it'll be after Sunday's game. 3 out of 4 they'll play in the Bronx. So, guys, enjoy the games. We'll see you in a couple days. And same to everybody viewing today. Thanks for subscribing and following us, both on our YouTube channel and the podcast outlets as well. For Tim Barbalace and Brad Brach, I'm Steve Melewski. Enjoy the Oriole Yankee series, and we'll see you in a couple days with another edition of Birdland Territory.